In the newest chapters of Star Trek, engineers are juggling evolving tech, unpredictable threats, and some seriously wild crews. Whether it's Himmer's dry wit, Stamets' creative problem solving, or Rutherford's enthusiastic brilliance, these engineers are pushing the limits of what it means to keep a starship running. In this live stream, we're asking the question, when the ship hits the fan, which engineer would you call first? Let's start the show. Hello and welcome to the Savage Stream, the weekly live stream where we talk all things Star Trek. And today I want to welcome my very special guest, Dustin, from the Best of Trek YouTube channel. Hello, Dustin, and welcome. Today we are finishing our series on Best of stuff. So we've been talking about the best captain and the best doctor and the best something else, first officer. And so now we're doing the end of the best engineer, and we've been doing old Trek kind of versus new Trek. So today we are talking about new Trek, which typically includes everything from Picard to Prodigy. However, in this conversation, I've taken out Picard because I don't even think they have an engineer on that show at any point, but that's not really what the show's about. So it's okay. And then I also took out Prodigy, which does have an engineer, a really fun character, but like still doesn't quite fit our conversation. I don't think that character would fit in anything we're going to talk about today, because again, that's not really the point of that show. So what I have
Jank
today,
and Pog can fix it.
Jank and Pog can fix it, and I love the episode where we find out why Jank and Pog says Jank and Pog. It's just like so painful and funny. So what we're going to do today is we're going to talk about 2 engineers from Discovery, 2 engineers from Strange New Worlds, and 2 engineers from Lower Decks. And this conversation is really about what makes a good engineer. So before we've done like the captain, the first officer, the chief medical officer, / we threw in a nurse in there. But for this conversation, we're just talking about great engineers, not just the chief, for a couple different reasons. We couldn't figure out who the chief engineer was for Discovery. So apparently we never see this person on screen, so we can't talk about that person. And then also Dustin made a good point about one of the engineers in Lower Decks who's not the chief, but we really see a lot of engineering from this character. So that's just what we're going to do here. Here are the qualities of a good engineer that we're going to be judging these candidates by. The first is leadership and collaboration. Do they communicate clearly with others? The second is innovation. Do they show creative problem-solving skills? And then third is adaptability. Can they work in any environment, like a ship or a planet or a holodeck or all these different scenarios that an engineer really should be placed in? So we're going to start our conversation with the first engineer on the list, and that is Jet Reno. So Dustin, thoughts?
5 out of 5 in all categories, no notes. I'll expand, but like seriously, I don't feel like I need to give any notes because Reno is just... She is just one of my favorite characters in Star Trek all around.
Wow. And there's a lot of Star Trek. And you've seen, just for everybody who's watching, Dustin has not only seen every episode of Star Trek, Dustin has ranked every episode, 800 and something episodes, has ranked every single one from best to worst. So when he says this is his favorite character, this is not something said lightly. So why is this one of your favorite characters of all time?
She is just all around incredible. Well, let's go down the list here. Leadership and collaboration. She does butt head sometimes, so I guess I have to take off at least half a point there. I guess I'll give her like 4.5 out of 5. Particularly with Stamets, but that's actually like the strength of why I like her so much. This banter between this lesbian character and the gay character on the show is just, it's incredible. They banter, but then they work together really well. So we don't really see her in leadership too much, other than when we first meet her coming off the Hiawatha, where she took care of all of the remaining injured crew, and she was pretty much the sole survivor, standing sole survivor. So pretty good leadership there. Decent on collaboration. Innovation, high. Like every time we see her, she comes up with some great things. Like she comes up with using a gas as an energy conductor through an entire bay. That was pretty cool. Adaptability, yeah, coming off the Hiawatha, she is a 6 out of 5. I mean, she adapted and survived for like 6 months or something. And kept the few crew that were still alive, and like became the medical officer, even though she only knew the basics of medicine. She's really great all around. I love Reno so freaking much.
Well, I'm glad you encouraged me to put her back on the list. So I've only because I was trying to keep the list smaller, but turns out there was like whole shows we're not going to talk about, so it's fine. I've only seen Discovery once, and I saw it in real time when it came out. I have not seen it since. So like I don't have a lot of memories of Reno. I have some memories of her just like randomly in panels in the hallways. Maybe that's where we see her a lot, but those are like my memories I have. I have more memories of Stamets just because he was like the mycelium network was like a big thing that imprinted on my mind as a microbiologist. I was like, ooh, like that like really stuck with me. And then also he comes up a lot in season 5, which is the latest episode that like the latest season that I've actually seen more recently. And I don't think Reno's in it a ton, but I will say every time she shows up and she just has those wisecracks, it's so much fun. And I agree with Nadia. She's like just hilarious and just adds this you're right. The banter is so good, but also she has this like dry, sarcastic kind of witty humor that's kind of lovely. It sort of reminds me of Dr. Ta'ana on Lower Decks, how she's always got something to say, but we like Reno. You know what I mean? Like she's like kind of always got something to say, but she's likable. She's like kind of charming, whereas Ta'ana is just like not charming in my perspective. She's just kind of abrasive, and she's saying stuff to just like make you mad or whatever. But yeah, I love that. Like I have nothing to add because I don't totally remember all these amazing things, but now that you're mentioning it, I'm like, oh, now I kind of want to go back and rewatch. And
yeah, she can be abrasive sometimes, but a lot of what we saw from her after the like season 2 and 3 where she was introduced in the last couple, every time she comes up, it's usually to give some great words to somebody, and it's what they need to hear. Sometimes that's abrasive, sometimes that's coddling, and she's really good at reading the room.
I love that. PS2 Chipper is like, I have no idea who this is. This is somebody from Discovery. PS2 Chipper, I don't know if you've seen Discovery. I think we had this conversation that you haven't seen that one. Or maybe you saw some of season 1. So when does Reno join the show, Dustin? Does she join in season 2?
Season 2, first episode of season 2.
Okay, so that's why. I think you've only seen season 1. So you watch one more episode past where you left off, then you'll find this character. Where I'm guessing we get a lot of this really awesome backstory, which I enjoyed. I did enjoy season 1 of Discovery. Even though it seemed a little bit like, where are they going? What's going on? I was here for it. Same thing with Picard season 1. I was like, I don't really know what's going on here. I'm not totally sure if the writers have a through line, but I'm in. Like, I'm curious. Let's see what happens. Let's see. So Nadia says she's so good. She can figure anything out. So glad she's included here and not just another dude whose name is escaping me. The one who runs the Black Alert stuff. Do you mean Stamets?
You're talking about Stamets.
Okay, I was like, because there was that other. I thought you were talking about the other. I don't remember this guy's name, but the other science guy who like teamed up with Book and he was like a bad guy. I don't remember his name.
Oh, like worst character ever in Discovery and one of the Tarka. You're thinking of Tarka.
Tarka. Okay, I was like, I don't remember his name. I just remember his little beady eyes, and he just looks so shifty. That's like my takeaway of that character.
Not good.
Not a single episode of STD. Do you mean Strange New Worlds? I don't know if I would watch that. Okay, yeah, Nadia says yes, Stamets. That's who I was talking about. Robert says you're not missing anything. STD would be STD wanted to be Star Wars so bad. STD is for Star Trek Discovery. Yeah, let's call it Disco because STD sounds awful. I didn't know you haven't seen a single episode. I enjoyed Discovery. There were parts of it, Yeah,
like every Star Trek, there's downs. Like almost the entirety of season 4 is down for me, but I find something that's great about the rest of it. And Reno in particular is a character to watch and behold. Love her so much.
They do a lot of interesting things. They have this, I think Adira is human. They have this character who's human but in love with the Trill, and then we get to find out more about the Trill, which is just so fascinating, really interesting. They have a lot of cool science. They have like future stuff, but it is a bit of a wobbly ride. And let's see, AF Kaplan said Discovery is too dark for my liking, to be honest. I hope that
That's
none of us
fair.
have seen STD. Yeah, Discovery is a bit too dark for my liking. So yeah, and this is something that Nadia said in the past about like new Trek, is starting with Picard. I think Picard really set a tone of this of Starfleet. Starfleet has just become awful, right? And it's a very dark tone. It's not like high fun space adventures. Like that's not the vibe at all for Picard. That's not what it's going for. And then Discovery is the next show. So it also has a dark feel. Like it's physically, literally dark. Like every scene in the show is actually dark. Um, but it's more of like a emotional thing. It's more of like emotional story. It's very much about
Hmm.
how are people feeling and how are they experiencing things and how are they like it's more of that, I would say, than just straight up like wars and stuff. Like right now I'm watching Deep Space Nine. It's a lot of wars and stuff. I'm in season 2 and it's like every other episode is just about the collaborators or like war crimes or like every episode is a
And
lot
you
of war
haven't
stuff.
even
So
gotten to the Dominion War yet.
and I haven't even gotten to the Dominion War. I'm on season 2 and it's like every episode from the past 2 seasons has been about war stuff. So that is like a darker tone, but I do think Discovery is fun. Um but a lot of people, but I can see why people don't like it.
And I
So
just want to clarify something here. The reason we don't know who the chief engineer is, like, I went the first 2 seasons going, yeah, Stamets is the chief engineer. And it wasn't until season 3 when Reno came in and said to Stamets, the chief engineer ordered me to make these modifications. And he's like, no, but I want to do it this way, that I realized he's not the chief engineer and neither is she. By season 5, it might be her, but you don't really realize it until halfway through the show that it's like, oh, this is season 1 of TNG where we're playing who's the chief engineer.
we're playing hot potato with the chief engineer role. Yeah, I thought so too. Like I immediately, like as soon as I had this idea for this whole conversation, I was like, it's Stamets, obviously. But then when I looked it up, it's like he's the chief science officer or
Mm-hmm.
something. And I'm like, I feel like he does a lot of engineering though. So that takes us to the next person on our list, which is Stamets. I feel like he does a lot of engineering. So I'm kind
He
of
does.
confused. And the
It
other thing
is
that's also
confusing.
confusing, because you remember this on TNG, how I think Data was maybe like chief science officer or something, and it was like always
He
him
was
and
the head of
Geordi.
ops.
But didn't they say I don't know? I feel like I heard something like that about him being in charge of the science department or something like that. And he and Geordi were always doing like the special science projects, but like they're all scientists. It sounds like they're
Mm-hmm.
always like, oh, it's a ship of scientists. So I'm always confused. Like to be a science officer, aren't you all scientists except for the civilian? So I'm not really sure how this works. But I totally thought Stamets was the chief engineer until it showed up that he was actually science. But he's always building stuff. So I'm going to put him on this list. Where do you think Stamets lands in terms of leadership and collaboration, innovation, and adaptability?
Oh, God. I give Stamets way lower marks in pretty much everything. I really like his boyfriend, Culber. I really like Reno. Stamets, not a very likable engineer. I mean, I'm sure he gets the job done
Engineer or
because he's
just
like,
person in general?
yeah, person in general. I mean, he's one of the smartest humans to ever human, even before he mixes with tardigrade DNA and becomes even more superhuman. Um, Leadership and collaboration, he might be the absolute worst. He might be like a 0.5 or even a 0. Everybody that's ever under him is butting heads, and there's a couple people that he like corrects himself with, like Tilly, but comes off as terrible to at first. And even in the middle, like when he gets mad, he wears his emotions on his sleeve, and it is not good for leadership or collaboration. Um, I guess there's the one episode where like he and Reno are trying to fix some stuff together because like she's banged up and in a wheelchair and he just came out of a concussion, and like collaboratively they're kind of trying to make a whole engineer. Yeah, like I guess that gets him maybe another half a point. That's like 1 out of 5. Innovation, probably a 4.5 or 5 out of 5.
I mean,
The
tardigrade.
guy's brilliant. He comes up with solutions on the fly, and he's good at that. Adaptability, though, I mean, for a guy that's as smart as he is somewhat adaptable, but he also is just kind of in his own lane. and doesn't really get the bigger picture. And I guess I'm thinking back to when Burnham has to flush him out an airlock because, like, hey, you're the key to the whole spore drive. You can't be here while the ship is currently under siege and under pirate control. So we got to get you out of here. And he's like, no, 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 I have to be here. And he just doesn't get it. It's like, no, you're not very adaptable, bro. Innovative, sure. Adaptable, no. He's like a 2 out of 5. I don't like Stamets as a whole at all.
That's kind of the thing we always run into. Like, that's when we had the Best Doctor Part 2 conversation. I was like, I'm adding Jurati to this list because I don't like Jurati, and I want a moment to say I don't like Jurati. So she's going on the list just so I could say that. I think Stamets is incredible as an engineer. Like, so innovative, so creative. And I also don't think he's that bad with collaboration. And I was thinking particularly with Tilly. But we mostly just see him with Tilly, right? With as far as like the person that he's working with, and Adira. And I feel like there's a lot of great engineers on the crew of Discovery. Like, there's a lot of people who are just coming up with crazy, wild things that always save the day in the nick of time. And Stamets is one of them. I do agree with you on adaptability, like could be more adaptable. And that also connects with maybe some of the collaboration, like could be better at social cues. I would say I like Stamets. I like him fine. But I think the thing that kind of irritates me about Stamets / Tilly / Adira is the constant like insecurity that happens with every word that's spoken. It's like every sentence is a question, where it's like, I turned on the spore drive and I was thinking about using it to maybe get us out of danger, but I don't know, should I? And you're like, you're in charge. You know what you're doing. You're smart. You're talented. Push the button, and that was my biggest frustration with all 3 of these characters for all of the seasons that these characters were in any like scene. And Tilly's like one of my favorite characters, I think, and Giorgio. But Tilly's one of my favorite characters. And I swear, like, just every time she opens her mouth though about like science stuff, she sounds so unsure that she knows anything about anything. And it's like, okay. And I like that they're trying to show different personalities, but it feels a little bit like Barclay. I mean, like, we only need one Barclay.
I can see that.
We don't need Barclay and what was her name? Not Selena Gomez. What was her name? Sonia. We don't need Sonia Gomez and Barclay. We don't need 2 of those. Like, we gotta pick one. But I will say that I think he had some really cool inventions, and he's always creating cool fixes. Yeah, so I like him fine. I kind of am thinking about what we talked about, I think last time when we were like, who would you want to hang out with? I would want to hang out with Reno more than I would want to hang out with Stamets, just because I think Stamets would annoy me, honestly, like would really irritate me, mostly with the answer, saying every sentence as a question. I think that would get old really fast. And I think Reno would be really funny. I think she would also get on my nerves, but it would take a lot longer. That's all I'm saying. Like, there'd probably be some point where I'm like, all right, everything's funny. Okay, let me just, I'd probably need a break. But I think that point would take a while, where I think Stamets would be like, one good dinner. And I'd be like, okay, we don't need to do dinners. Like, maybe we could just talk for work stuff. Okay, there are a lot of comments about, so Nadia says, wait, Dustin, who's the flipping chief engineer? We don't know. We don't know who that is. It's still a question mark. And if you Google it, it's going to say Reno. And if you Google it again, it's going to say Stamets. And neither of those answers are true. And if you ask ChatGPT, it'll probably say Michael Burnham. DS9 did have its dark moments, but it spoke to me. The experiences of the Bajorans under the Cardassian occupation struck a personal chord for me because I'm a child of the Holocaust survivor. Yeah, and that's, I think, like, so first of all, thank you for sharing. But secondly, I think that Star Trek has this, like, desire to constantly talk about Nazis. Like, it comes up a lot. I think for sure it was in TOS, it was in TNG, it was in Voyager, like literally in Voyager in the holodeck. I don't know.
It's literally in almost every iteration. Especially, there's 3 episodes in TOS. You got a 2-parter in Enterprise. Yeah, Voyager brings up another 2-parter
in Voyager.
Literal Nazis are a thing that Star Trek does, and one of the Nazis from Voyager is also a Nazi in the Enterprise episode 2. A different
no way.
There's a dude who's just stereotyped as a Nazi there.
It's got to be hard to get work when that's you. But yeah, so that's a thing that Star Trek is like constantly wants to talk about because it does have social commentary, right? Deep Space Nine and the Cardassians in particular are the stand-in for Deep Space Nine and a little bit in TNG because we see them in Chain of Command torturing Picard, and then they're saying some of their philosophies about, you know, why torture is great and why their kids need to learn about torture and blah, blah, blah. But they really like ratchet that up to 10,000 when they get to DS9, right? It's like Bajora or this and that. I mean, it's like, it's wild. And that's exactly what they were going for. So that connection that you felt, that's exactly what they were going for. I do think they do a good job of humanizing the Bajoran struggle and their fight to recover their independence, their identity and stuff like that, with the Cardassians still very much being there, which is wild, right? Because it's not like the Cardassians cease to exist. They're still there. They're still threatening. They're still showing up. They're still popping into the station all the time. Like, the threat is still very much real. And if by the way, I'm still in season 2, but if the Federation pulls out, it's like, it'll all go back to the way it was because now the wormhole is valuable and they will come right back. Right. So it's like really interesting the way that they're showing this fight against something that maybe is not actually done yet. A fight that's maybe not over. You know, you thought it was over, but it's not over. Yeah. So it's dark, but it is dark. That was my point, is that DS9 is dark, but still a great show. So yes, Discovery's dark. Picard's dark. I will say Lower Decks is not dark at all. So if you haven't seen that, give that a watch. Prodigy's a little dark. Not gonna lie, it starts out a little dark.
For a kids show, it is. It absolutely is.
Yeah, you'd have a lot of explaining to do watching it with your kids. First half of season 1. DJ Magic says DS9 is a great show as well. I just didn't like Avery Brooks in the first season, the first time around. On the rewatch, I kind of get it. Reno just came in hot and immediately liked her and the banter that she brought. Yeah, it's kind of rare. Airlock Stamets. It's kind of rare that you get a character that you take to right away, especially like a new character being introduced into for Reno to come in season 2. And of course, this is Stamets on the screen. But for Reno to come in season 2 and to be immediately liked, that's not an easy thing for the crew, like for the on-camera chemistry, but also for viewers. Because whenever we see new people, we're kind of like, who's Pulaski? You know, there's like a little bit of like, who is that? This is a new person now. Am I supposed to like them? So that's really a testament to the character they wrote, but I think also to Tig Notaro, the actress who plays Jet Reno, like to her bringing so much of her personality into the role, I think is what made her likable and real. Because I feel like all the interviews I've seen with her, she's pretty much Reno. Like,
yes, absolutely.
She's just being herself. Like, she's not acting a role at all.
Though at the same time, I've seen a couple of her stand-ups, and I feel like she's funnier in the few scenes that she gets in Discovery than in any of her stand-up, which is kind of sad.
She probably doesn't write the lines in Discovery yet. Like, probably the writers write them. DJ Magic says, I meant Airlock Stamets. Yeah, I got that. I got that that's what you meant. Horrible character. The holier than thou attitude makes me want to leave him in the mycelial network of nothingness. But how would you ever jump the ship? Like, how would you move it? You need him to move the ship, to make the ship go. Yeah, I've done a lot of reading and documentary watching on World War II since I was a kid in the early 90s, and it's heartbreaking every time. And Star Trek in general reflects often on World War II. Yeah, Star Trek in general. And I don't think they, maybe not in New Trek as much, now that I think about it, but in all the classic Trek from TOS in the 60s all the way up to Enterprise, it was still going strong. Like, so that's a good 30-year span. We're still going strong. Wellington says Jet Reno was a welcome change of an engineer. Okay, so it sounds like no one has anything good to say about Stamets because all the conversations are about how much Reno is awesome. It does indeed. In TOS, there was an episode about the black and white aliens who hated each other because of their differences and which side of their face was black or white. Yeah, they do like a lot of like racial or species or ethnic issues as well. But definitely like the World War II callbacks are more fully fleshed out. They're less just like, let's paint somebody black and white. You know, they're more like, except for in Voyager, that was not fleshed out. That was literally just like, let's put them in Germany. There was like very little effort in that one. But I feel like DS9 does put the effort in to try to like make it seem like a related story. Yeah, so this is another character from STD. This is another character from Discovery. Oh, that's interesting. DJ Magic says his dad compared Deep Space Nine more to a show about Vietnam than a lot of other shows. Yeah, it does have a lot. It just has a lot of war stuff. A lot of war stuff. So like, it could be any war, but I think they're likening it to World War II quite a bit. But like, war is pretty awful, and I think any war you could see some kind of connections there. Uh, 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 um, I think Seven of Nine was an instant hit as well. Yeah, I don't remember if I actually liked that character when I first, like, I love Seven now, but I don't remember if I actually liked Seven when she came as a Borg drone. Um, I don't remember. I don't know. Do you remember, Dustin? If that was like, if you had the same
Well,
connection with Seven that you had with
as like a
Jack Reno?
13-year-old boy when Seven of Nine joined the crew, I mean, I have different feelings probably than you might have when she did. So as an adult,
Yes,
yeah, I
instant
love
hit.
her. I love her. Um,
I'm just thinking when she first came to the show, though, like those first few episodes when she was still like
yeah, she was
Borgified.
just fine. Yeah, I agree. I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
She is a lot like Stamets in that first like half season.
Okay, so no one had anything good to say about Stamets. Poor Stamets. But that'll take us to the next engineer
Poor guy.
on the list, which is Hemmer. Hey, Windgrace. Reno better than Stamets. Okay, so that was the gist. And then
By a
also
mile.
Wellington's letting us know if you want more of Tig, she has a show on Amazon Prime. So that's like just more like we don't care about Stamets, basically, is what that is. Okay, so moving on to Hemmer. Your thoughts on Hemmer as far as leadership, communication, innovation, and adaptability.
Well, better than Stamets in pretty much all the
Which is
categories.
wild because we only see Hemmer do anything for like 2 episodes. And we see Stamets for 5 seasons.
Yeah, in leadership and collaboration, I think I got to give him a 5 because like we only see him for a little bit, but what we do see even on top of like his mentoring of Uhura, which is really great in the leadership department. Um like I can't remember the specifics about it, but like he just like snaps his fingers and somebody else on his engineering staff just knows what they want him to do, what they're supposed to do by that. And it's just great. Like he is just even though he's this blind engineer, everybody is in tune with him. They know what to expect. Um and he's on top of that. Innovation, I don't think we've seen enough of him to know whether he's innovative or not. I don't think I can actually give him a rank on innovation.
So there's when we first see him doing engineering stuff, we don't really see him. He's calm to from the bridge. They're like Hammer, something or no, from the transporter room. They're like Hammer, something's gone wrong, something something. And then he's like, "Hold on." And you hear like beep 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 and it's like it's fixed and the guy is like, "Oh my gosh, that's amazing. How did you possibly do that?" And there's like no explanation. It goes to the next scene. So I think that was supposed to imply that he's really innovative.
I
That's what I
did
got
all
from that.
this
It's
by
supposed to be
pressing a
like,
button.
yeah, it's supposed to be like, oh, he can figure out stuff no one else can figure out, and it's so ingenious that like it can't even be explained.
Yeah,
The feeling I is what I felt like they wanted me to think about this character.
but I don't feel like that moves the needle because that's every engineer in Star Trek at some point or another. We call down engineering. Okay, hold on, Captain. All right, you can do the thing you need to do. Great. But I need to see them like adapting a coil brace to become a field transporter to move the needle on innovation. And I don't think we have enough information about Hemmer to say that. He's probably really innovative, but we don't know. Adaptable. Well, I think he's very adaptable, between just being a blind engineer. I mean, that's very adaptable in and of itself, but what few situations we did see him in across not even all 10 episodes of the first season, he's very adaptable, including self-sacrifice there at the end. He's one of the very few characters that I cry over every time. So, yeah, overall, Hammer's pretty great. I like him a lot. I like him a lot more than who we're going to talk about next, who is, I don't dislike, but Hemmer's better.
I kind of
Hemmer is a very fun engineer, and I like him a lot. Not as much as Reno, way more than Stamets. Not as much as Pelia.
Stamets got like
or
zero
way more
love.
than Pelia. Mm-hmm.
Stamets got zero love in this conversation. So I would agree with you. Hemmer with leadership and collaboration, especially what we see between him and Uhura, like via their version of YouTube, it's really cute, actually. And I'm trying to think of any times that we really see mentorship in Trek in general. It's not really a thing you see. Like, you don't really get to see the mentor mentee kind of joking and laughing, and you don't see that kind of connection. I guess I see that with like maybe like Beverly Crusher and Nurse Agawa, but that's not a mentor mentee thing. That's like a coworkers who are buddies kind of a thing. And I'm thinking of Lower Decks when she's like trying to rank up, and Beverly's the one who's going to rank her up, and like they have some friendship, some connection, and in that sense it feels a little mentor mentee, but nothing like this. I think that was really sweet. I think this was such a great character, so interesting. I will have to give points for leadership and collaboration. But there's so little that you see of this character doing any engineering stuff, just because there's so little that you see of the characters, just full stop. Most of season 1 of Strange New Worlds feels like it's about Spock and his journey. And then there's others like orbiting around him. And I don't feel like we get a lot of any of the characters as far as, actually, that's not true. The Uhura episode where she was like singing to the temple or whatever was very cool. But I feel like we didn't see a lot of him or like engineering his little heart out. We saw a few scenes where he was doing stuff. And so for those few scenes, I will say, yes, great communication, communicates clearly with others. For those few scenes, was finding creative solutions, was adaptable. There's a scene where his hands are broken and he sees the panels with his hands because he can't see with his eyes. And so without his hands, now he's like double blind. And so he's able to talk Uhura through all the things that need to happen. So that goes to all of these, right? That's clear communication. That's a creative problem solving. Although that wasn't his idea, that was her idea. And then that's being adaptable. Like, instead of just being like, this will never work, he's like, all right, open panel A and look for column B or whatever. So yeah, I think this is a really interesting character, and unfortunately only lasts for season 1. We get a brand new person in season 2, which is such a bummer because I feel like we didn't even scratch the surface of this character. Like, we didn't even scratch the surface. There's so much more to be learned about all of the characters, but especially this one. I wanted more backstory. I wanted more engineering stuff. And we get more of him kind of on YouTube with Uhura than we get like during his like main storyline. So I guess if there was a criticism, it'd be I didn't get enough Hemmer. That'd be my criticism. I didn't get enough to like really be like, oh, like to have views of him as an engineer.
To be fair, he might actually do more engineering than Scotty in 3 seasons of TOS. But
really? Are you serious?
I'm not kidding. Like, most of what Scotty does in engineering in TOS is just the stuff we were talking about before, where it's like, oh, Captain calls down, hey, Scotty, you need to do this. Okay, I'm going to do this. But I can only think of like 2 major scenes where he does real engineering in TOS. Most of the time, he's just badass, kicking it in the big chair and doing a really good job in the leadership of the overall ship role.
That's interesting. An engineer who also doesn't have. That's crazy that Hemmer has more engineering scenes in like 5 minutes out of 10 episodes than in like 3 seasons. That's wild.
It's more than that because there's on top of that one where you're like, the like YouTube stuff in season 2 with Uhura. There's that one where he's like his hands or whatever are messed up and he's got to instruct Uhura to do stuff. There's a lot of engineering going on there, and I think there's more engineering just in that one episode than Scotty got.
Wow, that's wild. So PS2 Chipper, Hemmer is from Strange New Worlds, which I told you was awesome. You should watch it. It's really good. DJ Magic says, as a young male, we look past the Borgification of 7 of 9, and we just focus on her inner beauty.
I mean, as an adult, I agree with that statement, but as a 13-year-old boy, when she was introduced to the cast, I mean, come on, dude. Don't lie to me.
Her inner beauty, not the outer beauty, which was very much not there when she was Borgified. Love Hemmer so much. Hemmer would run circles around Stamets, even being blind and later infected. Hemmer was innovative when guiding Uhura to fix the engine bomb thingy. Yeah, it was an engine bomb. You're right. Yeah, so Stamets got like minus points according to the audience, and Heber, people are pretty much a fan. So what happens in Strange New Worlds is in season 2, we get a brand new engineer, which is the next person on our list, and that is Pelia. So thoughts. What are your thoughts on Pelia as far as leadership and communication, innovation, and adaptability?
Ooh. This one's probably the toughest one all day to rank any of these. Uh, because I love the actress Carol Kane. Like almost every role she's ever done, I've loved her in.
Except this one,
Especially,
right?
yeah, and
Oh,
even this, I
I love
don't
her in
hate her.
everything, but this one
I
I
don't
just,
I don't dislike her. I like Pelia more than I like Geordi.
oh my
Um,
gosh, I love Jordy.
but like Carol Kane as, for instance, the ghost of Christmas Present in Scrooged is just
Yes,
love her. Um, Leadership and collaboration. She comes down really hard on people and doesn't seem like a great person that I would want to work under. I can give her maybe a 1.5 or 2 out of that. Innovation as a whole, like I think we saw her less in season 2 than we saw Hemmer in season 1, and that's really saying something because Hemmer wasn't even introduced until episode 2, and I don't think he did anything engineering related till episode 3. Um, Innovation, I don't know. Like it's even less. This is another one where I can't give you a rank on innovation because she just doesn't really do much of anything. Now, adaptability. I think she's very high in adaptability because, as we find out, she is a Lamphanite, which is an ancient race that's been on Earth for God knows how long. We don't know how old she is. It's at least hundreds, if not thousands of years old. Um, and she does adapt to every situation. I love how there's even like a line about, well, if this whole socialist utopia thing goes to heck, I've got a bunker in Vermont. She's adaptable. She is the cockroach that will survive the apocalypse. Absolutely. So I'll give her high marks, like a 4 on adaptability.
she's the Garrick, but not evil, the cockroach that will survive no matter what. Um, Hold on, I missed some about Himmer. I don't know, I didn't see them, but Wingray says Himmer innovated a way to use transporter to take the core out of a star while high. A.F. Kaplan says Himmer is an Enar, a subspecies of Andoran. They are blind, but their other senses are extremely sharpened, and this is how Himmer does what he does. Wellington says, yes, Scotty did very little engineering. It was mostly, I need 5 hours, but really I just need 1. You're so fun. You're like, I don't know who this is. This is also Strange New Worlds. That's why. And this is Strange New Worlds season 2. So if you haven't seen season 1, you probably haven't seen season 2. Yes, Carol Kane is in this. I don't like this character. I want to like this character because of Scrooged. Like, amazing. Like, favorite. Like, that's probably my favorite character in that whole movie. She's so funny. But
Do
this
you
character,
like my pretty dress?
and then she like keeps smacking him with the wand. It's just like so funny. But this character, and honestly, I think the thing that kills me is like the weird accent plus speaking really slow with that accent. It just feels, which I know is on purpose, but for some reason it takes me out of the fiction. It takes me out of the fictive bubble, and it feels like she's reading lines, which I know she's not because she's an amazing actress who's been doing this her whole life. It's just how the character speaks, but it makes me feel like she's talking slow and slurring so that she doesn't like lose the lines or something. And I personally do not talk slow. And I have a bit of a challenge with people who talk really slow because I'm like, what are you trying to say? Can you say it any faster? So every scene with her where she's like, do you think this is a warp core breach that I cannot decide that? And I'm just like, oh, I can't, I'm like, I'm on the next thought. That's more of a me thing than a her thing though. Very much. All of this is more of a me thing than a her thing. Same thing with Girardi. I don't like Girardi either, but that's more of a me thing than like there's anything wrong with this character. She just like bothers me. So for leadership and collaboration, I don't know. I'm thinking there's the one episode where Uhura is hallucinating and there's like a saboteur on board and she teams up with Una, and they have to like figure out who the saboteur is. And I think she does engineering in that. Like, I think they're like, there's like cords and like panels open, and they're like doing an investigation. So there was collaboration in that. However, they were bickering and like butting heads the whole time. And Pelia was kind of like, Una, why don't you like me? And she was like, it's not that I don't like you. I don't like how you do stuff. You know, it was like not smooth communication. But to her credit, she is the one who brought it up. Like, what's your deal? So that gives her points with communicating clearly over Una, who was just being kind of snappy and not like just saying what was bothering her. For innovation, maybe there was an innovative solution in that episode. I don't even remember. Probably, but I don't really remember. It wasn't really about her. It was about Uhura. And then adaptable. Yeah, I'll agree with you that she's, because of her living for like ever and ever, she has to adapt. But I don't know how quickly she has to adapt, right? As opposed to some of our other engineers where it's like, okay, we're in the Delta Quadrant now. We're like, okay, you know, like I'm thinking of O'Brien. He's like, okay, there's Bajoran and Cardassian systems, and we need to make them work together along with Federation systems. Let me figure it out. That to me is like the adaptability that an engineer needs. But for somebody who lives thousands and thousands of years, for her to change her address every couple hundred years, or, you know, like every 10, you know, couple decades, I don't know if that makes it adaptable, like super adaptable, you know?
Well, we don't know what it actually entails. Have you seen the trailers for the next season?
Yes.
Okay, so there's something where they're going to end up putting in hardwired telephones at her idea because something's down and they need them to communicate. So, like, I'll give her marks there for, like, well, maybe that's even innovative rather than adaptive, but I don't know. Anyway.
Yeah, we need more data. Maybe for this one, we need more data. But yeah, like I said, I want to like this character. Like it seems like she was written to be liked. I think the other characters like her. So I think I'm supposed to like her as a viewer, but I don't. There's an episode when they do like a time travel thing, and she is more in that episode than I think any other episode, but she's not an engineer in that episode. So none of these things would apply because she's not an engineer. So I don't know. Let's see thoughts in the chat. Reno and Pelia are definitely kicking it after hours, for after hours more days than most. Yeah, I could see Pelia being some, you know what, I will say that because we did talk about like who would you want to hang out with. I could see Pelia being extremely interesting just because of all her life experience. Like I could now, granted, she would have to like say it into a recorder so that I could 2x it and listen later. But I think she'd be super interesting and have so many really great stories to tell. But as far as like engineering, yeah, you said you wouldn't want to work on Stamets' team. I think you said. I would not want to work on Pelia's team. Like I would not want to have to work. I would not want to work on her.
That's fair.
That she would drive me nutty.
Yeah, even when she's like giving out compliments, like when I think it's Uhura that brings up Hemmer, and she's like, "Oh, he was one of my best students," and then right after she's like, "Okay, he wasn't." It just sounded like something nice to say about somebody that was dead. Like, really? Okay.
Yes, and she's like, "He wasn't. He was mediocre." I just said that because I feel like I was supposed to say that, but like it's not true. So you're kind of like, okay. Thanks. And that was their first time meeting. Like their first time talking to each other was that scene where she's like, okay, thank you. Yes, Pelia is brilliant and has tons of experience, but is too abrasive. I'd love to know that she was working on a ship. I'd love to know that she was working on the ship. I just wouldn't want her to be my boss. That's fair. I would just sit back and listen to the stories. She must have like the best stories, just literally the best. She hasn't done it for me yet, except in the time travel episode in the modern day. Yeah, so you liked her in the time travel episode where she was not being the engineer.
I agree with this 1,000%, Win Grace.
Where she was just like, she was just being her. She was just being her. I kind of agree too. If she was more of like maybe like a Neelix character or more of like a Quark character, she's just like this quirky person who's got all this personality and just like is just hanging around on the ship doing some particular thing like running the bar. I probably actually would like this character. But because she's the chief engineer, then I'm like forced to see her in work environments where she's not. I don't know. Actually, I can't nail it down why I don't love this character. Wow, Sharice, dang, we are so different. I love watching Carol playing Pelia. I find her funny and interesting. Oh, I'm glad you find her funny and interesting. So that means they didn't waste their money on this casting. I'm glad. I'm sure you're not the only one.
I find the Lanthanite race interesting, and I want to know more about them. Particularly, there's, without giving too many spoilers, there's a character that's met in TOS in one episode that was said to have been on Earth for thousands of years, and I want to know if that character was this race.
Well, that's what I was going to ask, because I think they said that in Strange New Worlds. They said something of like, the Lanthanites have been on Earth for such and such time, and we've only met them once, or something like that. So I was like, maybe this is a TOS character that they're like letting us know about. Yeah, I'm not really sure about this. Like, maybe her speech is because their species communicates in a more deliberate pace. I don't know, but when she first starts talking, Uhura recognizes the accent and goes, "Oh, I know that accent. You're a Lanthanite." So apparently they all talk like this, which is weird for an entire planet of like people talk like whatever. So I really don't know. Maybe they'll explain it in season 3, which, by the way, drops tomorrow at the time of this recording. So if you're watching in real time,
in 4 hours and 15 minutes, which I usually get up to watch, but we're going to be here another probably half an hour or so. I don't know if I'm getting up at 2 a.m. my time like I normally do to review this.
Is that what you do for your reviews?
Usually, yeah.
Well, I love you all who are watching live or on the replay, and I do not do that. But I appreciate Dustin's efforts for the audience. That Pelia is an int. Yes, exactly. Also, love Lord of the Rings. Also, the ints talk super slow, right? 30 minutes later, all they've said is good morning. You're like, goodness gracious. Is she a Demogorgon? I don't think so. Yeah, that's devotion. I agree. Nadia says, OMG, Dustin, that is devotion. Okay, so it sounds like people are big fans of Pelia. Let's move to the next engineer on the list, which comes from Lower Decks, and that is Chief Billups. So, Dustin, your thoughts? Nice. Your thoughts of Chief Billups for leadership and collaboration, innovation, and adaptability.
Well, similar to Pelia and Hemmer, we haven't seen a lot of him, but it's not because we didn't have 5 seasons, but because the main the main or what am I trying to say? The bridge crew, the big crew is not the main crew in Lower Decks. So we don't know a ton about Billups other than his mom is basically Loxana Troy, but more annoying. But what we do see of him, his leadership and collaboration are always on point, top notch, like 4.5 out of 5. Innovation. Yeah, we get a lot. Billups is probably the most techno-babble engineer since Geordi, where it's always like, yep, we are going to stick ODNs into the neodyne relays to make the ship go faster.
Warp particles. Yeah,
his innovation, he's got a few episodes where we see him innovate. I can't remember anything particularly like high end, so I'll still give him like a 4 out of 5 on that. And adaptability, it's the same kind of thing. He does seem mostly adaptable, except in things that are social. He is not very socially adaptable. He is by himself. He's the guy that's eating literally cold cereal when we see him in the bar. So, yeah, like a 2.5 or a 3 out of 5 in adaptability. He's fine.
I think Billups is, so the one episode where we do get to see his engineering skills is in the episode Upper Decks in season 5, which is all about the bridge crew, because that's not what the show's about. The show's about Lower Decks. So we see the bridge crew as they relate to what the Lower Deckers are doing. But Upper Decks is like the one episode where the Lower Deckers are kind of pushed to the side, and it's just about the bridge crew. It's just like, what does a day in the life look like for each and every one of these members, just to satisfy our curiosity because the show is being canceled. I think that was like the thinking behind the episode. So in that episode, we see that there is some kind of like warp core breach situation about to happen. We actually see him, he's like mentoring a younger person, like an ensign or something. And she detects that there's a problem. And then he does like the Geordie roll where he gets everybody out of engineering. And then he's like, all right, we got to fix this. So I'm going to give him high marks on the leadership and collaboration as far as like every time we see him, there's a team and he seems super supportive of his team. And he's always giving them responsibilities. And he's always like, I don't know, he just seems like he's very much the Ned Flanders of the ship. He's just like Oakley Dokley, you know, he's super cheerful and happy and just always there for his team and really loves engineering and geeks out about all this stuff. So I'm going to give him high marks on that. And then, so in this episode, when they find this problem where like the warp core is about to breach and everyone's going to explode or something, he starts walking her through all of these different ways to fix it. But every time they fix a system, another system goes down. So they have to fix that and another system goes down. But as they're going from system to system, and each system that goes down, by the way, is also going to make the ship explode in a whole different way. So as they're going around doing all these fixes, he starts mentioning the technologies that he's cobbled together to actually make this ship run. And he's like, oh, I got this, this system from this random race that does XYZ. But the only thing is that it has a security golem. And she's like, a security golem? And then like, which a golem is kind of like a ghost or something, like a boogeyman that becomes real and like eats you. And so as he's talking, the whole screen turns into this monster and like tries to eat him. And she's like, oh my gosh, he's like, oh, there's a security golem. So you find that that the whole ship is actually duct taped together from like thousands of different systems and programs, and none of it is done in any kind of sensible way. Like if they lose Billups, this ship will not run because he knows how everything is set. And it's like all balanced on a dime. So I will have to give him high points for innovation just for that. The fact that he's put everything together. Is it the right way to do it? Is it the best way to do it? No. But for innovative, it's extremely innovative and creative how he's managed to cobble together all these things and make the ship actually run. I mean, I can't talk too much about his adaptability because, like Dustin said, it's not really about the bridge crew. So we don't see him on away missions or, too many other things. So I can't say. Go ahead.
In fact, I just want to jump in. There's the one episode, I think it's at the beginning of season 3, where he is sent down, where him and Ransom juxtapose what they would normally do, and like Billups is supposed to be doing the negotiation part, and he's just like sitting by the pool and with his drink and everything's great until it's not, until they like make the wrong gesture and then they're almost thrown into a volcano. So adaptability is actually probably really bad for Billups.
Oh, but that's what makes this show so great. Oh my gosh, I love Lower Decks. I wish we had more seasons. I wish we had like Simpsons. Well, maybe that's too many seasons. I wish we had more seasons. Maybe not 25, but like I could have gone with a couple more. Yeah, okay, so thoughts in the chat about the character of Billups before we go to the last engineer on the list. Okay. I would hella work under Billups and be glad he was our engineer. He's the best at leading innovation and adaptability. Plus, he's humble and kind. He is humble and he is super kind. Like, kind of like we talked about in the Best Doctor Part 2, we talked about how Culber is very like warm and cuddly, and like it's just very nurturing. I feel like that's Billups. Billups is like nurturing, which is not something you necessarily need as an engineer, or like any of these roles really, but that is one of his strong suits. PS2 Chipper says Billups is great. And Wellington says yes. When Grace says 19 out of 10. He finally explained why ships have rocks. Flawless engineering. He did explain why ships have rocks. I forgot about that. That's why we keep so many rocks in the bulkhead. That was one of the inside jokes. The Cerritos is a model banished ship from the Dominion Wars. Is it? A model bashed ship from the Dominion Wars. Is it from the Dominion Wars? I did not know that. Oh yeah, the belly button problem. Yeah, Billups is just such a fun character, and I think he's a fun engineer. And part of me is like, I wouldn't mind him in my crew because similar to O'Brien, he's very innovative and creative. But like, unlike O'Brien's making things work in a logical way that another engineer could understand. I don't think
I don't
Billups.
know if that's true because there's literally a line in DS9 where it's like nobody else knows how the chief keeps all of this stuff working together. And it's like it's when he's going on vacation that that's said. So
That's the episode
yeah,
I
I
just
think
started
they're
watching
about the
today.
same.
Okay. Okay. I'll give you that. I'll give you that. And we can talk about that after our last engineer of like who's the best overall on this list and then maybe overall. Okay, so that brings us to the next engineer on the list, which is Rutherford. So, Dustin, thoughts on Rutherford as far as leadership and collaboration, innovation, and adaptability?
All right. So, leadership and collaboration, I have to separate these two things. Rutherford is not a leader. He is a follower, pure and simple. I can't give him points for leadership. He doesn't even want to rank up. It's like, it's not until Tendi speaks up for him that he's like, okie dokie, I'll take that extra half a pip. He is not a leader, but he is highly adaptable to collaboration. He collaborates well with his other engineering staff, with his friends, and on missions. So overall, I can only give him like a 2.5 out of 5 in this category because he's like basically perfect in collaboration, but nothing in leadership. Innovation. We see him doing a variety of things over 5 seasons. High marks in innovation, like a 4.5 out of 5. Um, Adaptability. A little less, but still pretty good. I give him more than Billups because, like, Billups, when you get him outside of anything engineering, forget it. He's done. Rutherford at least has some social acumen and can get through other situations than just engineering. So I'd give him, like, maybe a 3 out of 5 on that. Maybe even a 3.5. I like Rutherford a lot.
Rutherford is such a lovable character. And he's just, I feel like he's very similar to Billups. He's also a Ned Flanders. He's also very Oakley Dokley. Like, he just is happy go lucky with everything. He is the counterpart to Tendi, who is very like happy go lucky with everything. And Tendi geeks out about her medical stuff, and Rutherford geeks out about his engineering stuff, and they'll geek out about other stuff. And they're just like they're really into the work, like really into the work. And it's great to see that they have like kindred spirits on the ship who are just as geeky about these things. So I would agree with you. We don't really see much leadership from Rutherford, but that makes sense because they are lower deckers. So they start out as ensigns. They're not in leadership positions, but they do rank up by the end. Like by season 5, there has been growth. And
Right, but you can see like Boimler and Mariner leading even early on a little bit, and definitely by season 5. But even by season 5, I don't see Rutherford leading in any meaningful way.
yeah, and that's exactly what I was going to say, is that we see Boimler and Mariner, we see their growth as leaders. Like we see Boimler leading, having a small team of ensigns that he's in charge of and just like screwing it up, like completely screwing it up and micromanaging and being terrible. And we see him grow over time where now he can like have a group of people and not be a micromanager and learn how to loosen up. And you see him grow as a leader and you see him taking those opportunities, but you never see Rutherford leading a team of anything, doing anything. Like that's not his jam. Like he's not raising his hand for that. So I agree. Like we can't give him high marks for leadership. For collaboration, I think he's probably one of the easiest people in the world to work with. Like just because he's conflict free. He's just like, sure, let's figure it out. Sure, let's do it. Like he doesn't have strong opinions, it seems like. So he's not going to cause a lot of drama, is what it seems like for me. So I think there is clear communication. I think there's good collaboration. And yeah, I agree with you. He's not trying to be a leader. There's no part of him that really seems to want that. Innovation, he's extremely innovative. He's got this implant that gives him other, additional abilities and stuff like that. But I think it just enhances the natural intelligence he already had. So it gives somebody who's already like pretty skilled additional abilities, right? But he's already really skilled. So I'm going to give him super high marks in innovation. And then adaptability, I think he's actually really adaptable. We do see him go on different away missions, like because it's about the lower deckers, right? So I'm thinking of the episode where they're trapped in a cave. Or I don't know if he was in that episode with the like where all their imaginations were coming true and like trying to attack them. I don't remember if he was in that one, but I know the one when they were trapped in the cave and like
He
the ghost
was.
was growing and trying to eat them. Okay. Yeah, and like he's always like, okay, let's see, what can we do? The only thing we have are like our clothes and our comm badges. What can we do with that? You know, and he's like, oh, we could do this and this and this, and we could start have a beacon, and we, you know, like he will MacGyver something, and so he's super high on that as well. I think Rutherford is just so delightful. He's also like a little too happy-go-lucky, similar to Billups. So we also talked about, you know, who would you want to hang out with? And I think Rutherford would be a lovely person to spend small amounts of time with. Like I would, because he's just lovely. He's just gonna like brighten your day and cause no drama. But I also think I would get tired of that eventually because I would feel like he's not a real person. You know, he does have bad times, like when Tendi leaves the ship for an unknown amount of time, he spirals into full on depression, but he does it in the most toxic, positive way you've ever seen. Like he stops showering, he stops eating, he starts working 24/7 because he says it keeps the sad away. But he does it in like a time to get back to work, you know, like in this really like disturbingly happy way. And I think that would get old. But other than that, I really like this character. Okay, we have a lot of comments about Rutherford. Let me scroll back up. Hey, I know Rutherford. I know because you've seen Lower Decks, and Rutherford is awesome. Should we be evaluating Tendiford instead of just Rutherford since they're always better together? I think Rutherford does a lot of engineering minus Tendi, but Tendi's the way we see that Rutherford can get along well with others. Like that's, plus he gets along really well with Boimler. He's like a calming influence to Boimler's like anxious bounciness. As far as I know, Rutherford is the only engineer to create something that evolved into an omnipotent pan-dimensional mega being.
That's true.
I think you're right about that. Yeah, I think you're right about that. I was trying to think, like, is there anybody else who's created? Well, Data helped the computer create Moriarty. Yeah, maybe you're right about that. That's definitely the only one who's created some multi-dimensional mega being, that's for sure.
I mean, you should use that as a segue to talk about your next week.
What am I doing next week?
What are
oh yes, I forgot.
You even got Badgie as that's what
No, I know he was talking about Badgie. I just forgot what my next week's live stream was about. Next week's live stream is going to be about the most adorable psychopaths of Star Trek, one of which is absolutely Badgie, who is super cute and super cray-cray. Let's see. I would make Geordi LaForge the chief engineer because he's good with paperwork and people and a top-notch ship commander, while Scotty would be the assistant chief because he's better hands-on. Yeah, we didn't really have, that's a good question. We didn't really have like assistant chief. We had the two questions, which I will ask now. Let me pull this off. The two questions we have are, which of these engineers would you want on your ship if you were the captain? And which of these engineers would you want to work for if you were an engineer? So let me read these last two comments, and then those are the questions. So be thinking about those questions if you're watching live or on the replay. And I'll finish these last few comments. O'Brien would be on the away team because he can do technological stuff and he can also lead men into battle. Wellington says, no, leave my brain where it is. Why are you doing this, Tendi? Yes, adorable psychopaths. It's going to be a great one next week. Okay, so I'll send it to you first, Dustin. So the question is, which of these engineers on the list, Reno, Stamets, Himmer, Pelia, Billups, or Rutherford, which of these would you want on your ship if you were the captain? And which of these people would you want to work under?
Oh, this is far easier than last week. I want to work under Reno, absolutely and truly here. Just overall, she is just so great and so much fun. I guess like right behind her, maybe Hemmer, because he's a really top-notch leader. And who do I want to work under me? Rutherford. I mean, he is a solid follower. And he really knows his engineering stuff. And I just want to throw some, I don't want to hijack your stream, but when we're done with this, I feel like since this is the end of your best stuff, we should talk really quickly about best security officer, best ops, and best pilot.
Yeah, we can totally do that. But since I didn't think about that, you'll have to like guide that conversation. Yeah, for me, I'm going to say, I think I'll say Himmer, even though I feel like I didn't see a ton of engineering from Himmer. But in the YouTube stuff, he just seemed really great. Like he seemed like a great mentor. So I would pick Himmer to work under. I think he would make a great, like, yeah, I think that would just be a fun team. And then I would say Rutherford to be an engineer on my ship. I would not pick Rutherford to be the chief engineer on my ship, because he wouldn't be a good leader, you know? But he would be a crazy good engineer. Like he would save the day for everything. We talked about this a bit last week with part 1, where we talked about Scotty and O'Brien, et cetera. And we talked about, and we've mentioned this before about like, who would you want on an away team? Like the Trek reviewer said. And I think Rutherford's the kind of person that he's like a Swiss Army knife of an engineer. I would want him in any situation, but I don't know if I'd want him to be the chief engineer. I'd probably have to pick Billups, even though we don't know what shape the ship's going to be in after he gets done with it. But I know it's going to run, and I know it's not going to blow up. So I would say I would work under Himmer, and I would have Billups as the chief. But Rutherford needs to be an engineer on my team that I can just, like a wild card, I can just pull for any like away mission or like any crazy scenario. I think that would be the way to go. Okay. So we have a few in the comments, and then let's do best, what'd you say, security, ops, and pilot? That's a tough one. I thought you were going to say let's do the best of everything, like best captain overall, best engineer overall. Let's see. Does Vic Fontaine count? Nope.
Not as an engineer. Like, if you want to count Vic as a counselor, like if we want to talk about best counselors, maybe Vic Fontaine, maybe. But you haven't gotten to season 6 and 7 of DS9 yet.
No, and we didn't do counselors. I think because not all the ships have counselors, or sometimes it's like doctor/counselor, or like the doctor in Voyager ended up being like a sort of a counselor, at least a counselor to 7. But like they didn't really have health care.
I would say Chakotay in that one, actually.
Oh, that's interesting. Right, and he was the first officer, so what's he doing? Billups and Rutherford. I would like to work for Billups, and O'Brien is the GOAT. I'd work for Billups, but I'd want Pelia on my ship. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, I took her out of the running because, I was like, no, I don't even need to ask that question. I want Himmer on my ship simply for more time with Himmer. Yes. Best pilot is Will Riker. And that was dropped before you said that, I think. No, that was probably dropped right after you said that. If I choose Pelia, then I get Reverend Jim Christopher Lloyd with her. Yes, you do. You do get Christopher Lloyd with her. So does that make your choice Pelia? Okay, if I got Christopher Lloyd with Pelia. No, I'm sticking with my choice. Because I'm sticking with my choice for engineers, okay? Because I want my ship to go and not explode. You could do a whole stream of best female Vulcan added to a series already in progress. Yeah, and they would all be named the same thing and be like the same character. Start
with a T and an apostrophe.
Mm-hmm. And they would all be the same character. They would all just come and say, that is illogical for like the whole rest of the season. I see a Taxi reference. Hello, fellow old person. Yeah, that was not me making a Taxi reference because I barely remember that show. Okay, so Dustin, you want to do best security?
I think that's a good place to start because every series has a security officer.
I feel like Star Trek sucks with security. Like, I feel like none of them are good. Actually, I take that back. Odo's pretty solid so far. But, like, in general, I feel like security's just not great. So who do you think?
I actually somehow had forgotten about Odo, even though he's like, that's kind of the problem. He's really great overall. I was about to say it's a toss-up between La'an and Yar for me. It is not Worf. Blue barrels and possessed.
It was one barrel.
Troy can take him down easily. I like Yar because originally I was going to say Yar, and then I just thought about La'an because she's pretty great as a security officer. But God, maybe Odo. Oh, this is tough. I know I'm the one that brought it up, and I thought I was ready for this. I was going to say Yar,
We're ready.
and now I don't know if it's Odo or La'an.
I like the security lady in Discovery. I'm blanking on her name, but the one who has the
from the first season.
Yeah, I think she's like a Benzite or something. She has some kind of breathing apparatus for some reason.
God, yeah.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
I do.
I liked her.
Picture her.
I do like La'an too, but I liked her. I felt like she was tough and like smart and didn't take any crap. I liked her, but I will say so far, and I am only in season 2 of DS9, but I would say Odo.
For a second, I thought you were talking about the chick that died in like episode 4 of Discovery, who was also in Battlestar Galactica. I can't remember her name anyway. She was one of the Cylons.
What the? Okay, I'll have to rewatch. But I told you I only saw Discovery once. So.
Anyway. I guess if I have to pick, it's Odo. But La'an comes really, really close, actually.
Why La'an? Like, why is she so high on your list?
She is tough as nails, and she really seems to have security protocols down, which is one, like, both Worf and Yar fail at that. Worf's pretty obvious. There's all kinds of times where stuff takes over the Enterprise, and Yar, there in one season, what really bothers me is the episode Justice, the one where, like,
just one of the worst episodes ever created.
I mean, it is, but like, what bothers me is that she's like, "Oh, I read all of their laws, but I didn't read about their, read about their punishment." Well, even if you didn't read about their punishment, then you should have known about their punishment zones, which is a big part of their laws. So you failed, Yar. I don't think La'an would make that a problem. She has shown herself to really crush it at every turn, and she might actually be better than Odo because Odo's easily swayed by, not easily swayed, but he's got some things that can be what am I thinking of, like an Achilles heel.
So I like La'an. I do like the character. I do like the character of La'an a lot. But if this was somebody who I was going to put in charge on my ship, it would be Odo, like, hands down. Because, in one of the comments that I put on the screen was Wingrace saying, like, I like Odo, but some of his policies are, like, not for me. I agree, but also, Odo's not Starfleet. And he's only sort of Bajoran. Like, he's like kind of got this Cardassian side of when he was put in charge as the constable by the Cardassians, and then they let him do whatever he was doing to the Bajora. And then the Bajorans put him in charge, and now he's doing whatever he's doing with them. And apparently, and he's also working with the Federation, but he says a lot of times, like, this is my station. Like, he considers Deep Space Nine his personal territory for him to police as he sees fit. And he seems very, at least by season 2, he's irritated that Cisco is putting any, like, restrictions or requirements on him whatsoever. And he's like, untie my hands. Let me do the way I want to do it. Let me search people and spy on them and tap their phones. And, he's like, why can't I do everything? So I think that's a little crazy. I agree with you, Wingrace. That's a little wild to be happening on the ship. But, like, if Odo was on the ship, he'd be Starfleet. Right? He would
just
have
in the first couple of seasons, I can agree with you. You haven't seen Odo as he goes along. I mean, he's still mostly that same character, but you start to find out that there are some things that could compromise him as a security officer that I don't see that La'an has anything that would compromise her.
Not even the power of love?
No. Well, like Kirk, I guess, but that's Odo's problem, actually. One of them.
Can I roll my eyes any harder at that? So the Trek reviewer said, Lieutenant La'an would be my security chief, and Yar would be my tactical officer, and Worf would be my armory for hand-to-hand combat specialists. I also like Yar. I feel like Yar, and at least in season, I mean, Yar was only in season 1, but the way they wrote it in season 1, Yar and Worf were pretty interchangeable to me. It was very often where they were just like, something's on the bridge, shoot it. Like, it just felt like either of them could have said that, either of them could have done that. she has a, they have very different backstories and stuff, but as far as what the characters did security wise, it was like he was on the bridge, shoot him, alien on the bridge, shoot, it just felt like they were kind of, mix and match. Who knows what she would have been like had she stayed on the show for longer. Like, I don't know. I can't really say what that character would be like, but I would say of all the security officers that I am aware of and have experienced, I would say Odo with maybe Odo with an asterisk. Because yeah, I wouldn't want some crazy Cardassian style ship like either, but I just think he'd be really good at it. And I also like the fact that he uses his shape-shifting abilities to do detective stuff. Like PS2 Chipper said, he's a detective. So I like that he can do that. And like, I like that he can spy in such a low-key way where he's just like, oh yeah, like just send me onto this enemy vessel and I'll just pretend to be like a bag or whatever. And then I'll just know what they're up to. That is so invaluable. Like, I don't think Starfleet would be cool with that, but I just think it's cool that he can do that and that he can be, that he's a shapeshifter. I don't know. But yeah, I like La'an also. I like a lot of the security. I don't love that they're always like, yeah, Captain, go on an away mission. Good luck. Hope you come back in one piece. That to me feels like security needs a retraining. Canadian Bacon says O'Brien because he can command troops and he's good in a fight. Plus, he's an A+ engineer. Yeah, I totally agree. Like, if we were doing best of all around, I'd probably pick O'Brien as the best engineer all around, or Rutherford. Rutherford's really good. Oh, but
just
O'Brien
all around period. O'Brien probably, because he's got a sense of just a little bit of everything on top of being a good engineer.
Yeah, and he's not like perfect. Like Rutherford is so fun and happy, and that's not O'Brien. But I feel like I would like O'Brien more because he's a real person. You know what I mean? Like, he's got ups, he's got downs, he's got likes, he's got dislikes. He's got parts that he's just totally ignorant about and doesn't even know he's ignorant. Like, he just seems like a real person that I could enjoy for a long time. Like, everybody else on this list has had a time limit where I'll be like, okay, I'm good. Like Pelia, it's 2 seconds. Him or actually, I think I would really enjoy. But yeah, O'Brien, I could see us being legit friends, like no problem, like forever, According to Prodigy, Odo was Starfleet in the Kobayashi episode. Oh yeah, that's true. La'an. Okay, La'an. Odo is borderline authoritarian. Ben had to hold him back. La'an is my final answer.
Yeah, I gotta go with La'an overall.
Michael Eddington. No. Absolute no on that one. Sorry, when I was saying Non earlier, I meant the name of the Discovery later. Oh, that was her name. Yeah, it was Non.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I liked that character. Yes, I like that character. Exactly. When they went into the future. I liked her. And I was sad when she went off to whatever she went off to.
I agree. Though I didn't like when they brought her back in like season 4. Yeah, it was towards the end of season 4.
I didn't either, but like when they brought her back, I was kind of like, eh. But it was nice to see like the continuation of her story. You know what I mean? Like, she's fine, she's alive, she's working, she's happy, Like, I did like that. And that was for our benefit, of course. So you do have Katrina Cornwell, Troy, and Esri Dax as counselors. Yeah, and we just don't have I don't think every show has a counselor for us to like review every show. I mean,
you got Culber too. You can also probably add in Guinan and Vic Fontaine.
Yeah, we can add people who were like listening ears or something like that. People who were like unofficial counselors. We could have a good list. I don't know if every show has that role though, or every show needs that role.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, O'Brien has been through it. I think O'Brien would be just a great overall engineer, probably of everyone on the list. Anyways, that's not what we were talking about. The next thing was best ops.
Yeah, let's talk about ops because I think this is an easy one. I think it's Data. There's you don't get a lot of ops officers overall in Star Trek. I think we also have to talk about science officer at some point, but Data, just hands down, I don't think there's anybody else.
Yeah, I would need like a list to see who they are, but like, yeah, it's going to be hard to beat Data at anything except for maybe like personal relationship stuff because he is an android. But even there, like, he tries really hard, and like, I love Data. I could hang out with Data all day every day. Like, Easy, super easy. Because anything that he's really awkward about, he's like, I'm awkward about this. You know what I mean? Like, he's very aware, like, I am making you feel uncomfortable. How can I fix this? And so, like, clear communication, it's going to be a 10. You know, collaboration, it's going to be a 10. Yeah. So who are you thinking for science then?
I'm going with Dax. I think overall, I think she's the most well-rounded. Spock might be the better overall leader, but I think Dax is the most well-rounded officer.
I'm probably going to go with Stamets as the best as far as his more for his like innovation.
That's kind of fair.
Like, who would I want on my ship? I'd probably pick Stamets, but I'd be friends with Dax. But I like want to hire.
I'd still pick Dax because is Stamets the better purely science officer? Yes, but Dax is a better multi-tool.
Fair. Okay, that's fair. That is a fair point. I still need to do, yes, you do need to do the data episode. That's going to take you probably a while. Yeah, I didn't know Spock was ops. I thought he was just first officer.
And science officer.
Yeah, Voyager's EMH, the doctor, would count as well as like counselory role by like season 5, not season 1, of course, because he was super abrasive and he needed a counselor. Kess was his counselor. So it would probably be Kess and then the doctor for Voyager's counselor. I think a counselor is a luxury, not a requirement. Yeah, I agree. I don't think every show needs one, but it's nice to have somebody who plays that role. Nadia says Data, but Dax and Spock are close. Spock was science, not ops. Oh, was Spock science and not ops? I don't know what Spock was. Harry Data. It's Data.
Yeah, Harry Kim's an ops officer, but yeah, it's still Data. That's not even a competition, not even a little bit. Poor Harry Kim.
I love Harry Kim also. But yeah, it'd be Data. Could Una match Dax? Oh, Data. Could Una match Data as far as what? Science? Let me know what's the rest of that question.
I'm pretty sure she's only first officer every time we've ever seen her. I don't think she has a dual role.
And then we have, would 7 fill science, and could 7 of 9 count as science?
Yeah, there is no specific science officer on Voyager, so yeah.
Yeah. Well, 7 actually wasn't in Starfleet, so we kind of back to the Kira Odo situation where like they weren't really in Starfleet, but they were on the list. So sure.
Even if you count them, even if you count 7, I'm still gonna take Data.
I agree. Even if
if we're talking about science, I'm still gonna take Dax because she's still a better overall multi-tool. It's the same thing with like you're saying like Stamets. Is Stamets the better science? Probably. Is 7 of 9 the better science? Probably. Is she the better multi-tool? No.
Oh, you're saying okay. As ops. Oh, Una versus Data for ops. Yeah, I'm still gonna pick Data. Like, I like Una, but like, so there's the there's the episode where they say that Una's like where fun goes to die or whatever, and I just comparing the two of them, it's like Data has an excuse because he's an android, but he's open to learning what fun things are and he will participate. I don't know. That's who I would want to have on a really long journey. I think Una would be a little too uptight, but I do like her. And I think I think the crew likes her. Unless Samantha Wildman was. Oh, Samantha Wildman.
That's a good point. And you're talking Wellington, you're talking about her daughter. Talking about Naomi.
Oh,
but
right.
Samantha, though, we do actually see her at like a bridge position doing science, and she does go on at least one away mission as the science officer. So that's possible.
Yeah, I never think of Samantha Wildman, even when I think of Naomi Wildman. Like, she doesn't enter in my calculations. So Data. Okay. Or like whoever I said for science. Okay, what was the last category? You said best pilot.
Probably pilot.
Best pilot. Okay, what are your thoughts?
I'm gonna go with Ortegas. We don't get actually a lot of pilots in Star Trek. Sulu was the pilot. Um,
Riker was a
May
pilot, but we only see him fly
he was
one time,
yeah,
and all he does is park
whoever
the ship.
said exactly whoever said that in the comments, it's like we keep hearing about how great a pilot he is. We see him do one mission where he's said to be the best, and we don't even see much going on.
Such a
So I
bummer. Like they
barely count
fulfill that
Riker.
promise.
Like, great, we know he's a great pilot, but we don't ever see him do anything. I'm going with Ortegas, and part of this kind of is just that CGI has gotten a lot better, but we actually see her do some amazing flying and like actual things in space where like other stuff is like, well, we know that they're good just because they are. And actually, before that, probably one of the best feats of piloting we actually see is when Picard takes the helm in Booby Trap.
And it's so good. Like, that's what I was thinking. I was like, Picard and Booby Trap is great, but Picard's not the best pilot. Like, come on.
No.
That was a great.
What are we going to say? Ensign Gates?
Exactly. Which I love the fact that they kept her for all 7 seasons and she was in the movies. I was like, let's go get in that work as an extra. That was so cool. Yeah, I guess I would say, yeah, Ortegas, just because of the episode where she was going through all the like asteroids or whatever. It was just like booby trap, basically. That was a really good scene, but I also want to say Tom Paris because we see a lot of his flying. Yeah. And I think it would have to be between the two of them.
I agree fully.
I'm trying to think of other
like
pilots.
We see more Tom doing more daring things, but as far as like actual on-screen stuff that we see the ship moving, I really like that for Ortegas. And like the only thing we know about Ortegas, she flies the ship.
My name is Ortegas and I fly the ship. Yeah, I'm thinking of the episode where they did the race, like the space race in the Delta Flyer. I don't know how much like we see of them fly. It's more just like cool ships, like, you know, passing each other more than it is anything else. But we see the most of Tom flying. So it has to be between the two of them. Oh, that's a hard one. Oh my gosh, I don't know.
It really is, because we do see Tom do more daring things. We just see more good stuff on screen for Ortegas. So it's a tough one.
Well, we have Alice, where the ship mind controls Tom Paris and he flies into like some kind of space fountain. That's kind of cool. Yeah, I'm gonna pick Tom. I'm gonna pick Tom. That's a hard one,
That's
though.
Fair. That's fair.
That's a hard one. There's like no one else on the list but the two of them for me.
It's too bad. I know you haven't seen Enterprise, but
no, is there a really good pilot in Enterprise?
Well, probably, but we only see him do a couple of things, and Mayweather's probably the most underused main cast member ever in Star Trek, and that's too bad. I think somebody
said that in the comments. Not that exact phrase, but they said Mayweather. Nice. Data was a pilot. Yeah, the only time I can remember seeing Data fly is 2 times. One when he gets kidnapped by Kivas Fajo in The Most Toys, and then the second time is in Next Phase after Geordi and Ro like get phased, and we see Data and Worf like talking in the shuttle.
Because I was thinking in Insurrection when his lip was cracked and his friend. I don't remember the whole song because I hate that goddamn scene so much.
Yeah, I was definitely not referring to Insurrection. Like, definitely.
But we get to see that's probably like the most like clever piloting we see him do.
This is interesting. Okay, Riker's the best pilot is a meme now. the one time where Riker could shine navigating the asteroid field, Picard takes it. Ortegas, she flies the ship. Remember when Spock took over as a pilot and only missed the target by a few meters? I guess you could call Ensign Ro a pilot. Oh, here it is. Sulu Mayweather. I think Tom Paris because he's the best by necessity. Just naming other options. Nobody said for security either. Nobody said read for security either. Very true. Erica and Tom do more piloting than all the other pilots combined. That is for sure. And especially in Strange New Worlds where we don't see a lot of the individual people doing like a ton of their role. I feel like we do see a lot of Ortegas flying, like legitimately, you know? Alice is Stephen King in space. Yes.
It
Mayweather is super competent, maybe the most competent character on Enterprise. Yet, like Dustin said, underused. And also, she got the insurrection reference. Data was the pilot in the last episode of Picard. I thought Beverly was the pilot. I don't remember. Data also flew the ship through the Borg cube in Picard season 3. Okay, well, there you go. Beat me to it. Okay, so there you go. There you go. It was Data. Okay, so that's that. And then real quick in our last like -1 minute, who do you think is the best? Just because we've already done these videos. So if you're watching, if you're still watching, thank you for still watching. We have already done best captains for Old Trek and New Trek. We did best doctor for Old Trek and New Trek. We did best engineer for Old Trek and New Trek. And we did best first officer for Old Trek and New Trek. And then we just did a quick dirty version of best for security pilots and ops or science. Yes, science, security, ops, and pilots. So, Dustin, best captain overall.
Picard.
Yeah. And you know what? The thing we did is like, who would you want to work for and who would you want to, like, we did this whole thing. So yeah, I would say if I was going to be on a ship, I'd want to be on Picard's ship, like any day of the week. Okay. Best overall doctor. Like, and we had to like your primary and then your specialist. So who would you want as your primary doctor? Who would you want as your specialist?
This was the hardest one when we did
like
this.
Overall, all Trek.
The doctor.
For both?
Yeah, the doctor, period.
Yeah, I would say, oh gosh. For sure, the doctor is one of those. The doctor is going to be my specialist because he knows everything about everything. And then I think my primary doctor from everybody on the list is probably going to be Nurse Chapel when she becomes a doctor. No. Because I think she's really good at science. But like also Mabanga, I would want an any away mission because I feel like he would keep me alive. But then that's not like a primary. That's an away mission.
I think you just have to pick the best overall here. Just one.
Okay, so just the doctor.
Otherwise, I'm going to give you all of them for different reasons.
All of them. Yeah, okay, I'll go with the doctor as well. And then best first officer overall.
Yeah, this was another tough one because it comes down between Riker and Saru. I think I have to give the nod slightly to Saru.
Yeah, I would say Saru. I would say for me, it's Saru and, oh gosh, who was the other person who was just in my mind who I really liked? I like Riker. He's like a lifelong, he's going to be a lifelong, super loyal first officer. He's never going to leave. But neither will Saru. Oh, shoot. See, now I kind of want to say Riker, though, because I feel like Riker can also take over the ship and I would trust him. Not that I wouldn't trust Saru because, like, okay, but like, if I was gone for 3 years and I came back, Riker would be like, welcome back, Captain. Here's your chair. Kept it warm for you. I'm going to say Riker. Yep, that's what I'm going to say. But Saru is a really close second because Saru is awesome. Okay. And then the last few things, I would have liked to see what a relationship between Ensign Ro and Tasha Yar would be like. It would probably be so chaotic. PS2 Chipper says Dr. Bashir over the doctor. I hate to say it. Yeah, Bashir knows a lot of things, but the doctor knows everything. Like literally everything and could learn anything at any moment. Just plug him in. He knows more. And which ship would you put this crew on? Yeah, I put it on like the nicest one. The nicest like one that's not going to get blown up, that's not in a war, and that's not being dragged through some rift. Bones as primary and Pulaski as the surgeon. Woo! Bones and Pulaski? Wow, you like doctors who don't like you.
I'm putting everybody on the Cerritos.
I like this pairing. What'd you say?
I'm putting everybody on the Cerritos.
You're putting everybody on the Cerritos. Wow. Okay. Natty says Riker. Riker is more fun to look at and to be around. Riker, Spock, or Decker. Post ganglion Saru or pre? Post ganglion Saru. Post for sure. The one who's a little more confident in themselves. And Dr. Bashir has that bedside manner. the Doctor learns the bedside manner. It just takes him a couple years. You know, with the help of Kes, he totally has that by the end. Okay, so that's going to wrap up our mega conversation. Thank you so much, Dustin, for joining me on this adventure. And thank you to my other special guests, Wynn Grace, who's shown up a couple times, Nadia, who's shown up a couple times, and who else did we have? Vanessa, who came for the Doctor's one, I think, which was so lovely. Anyone but Burnham. But Burnham saves the ship every time. Yeah, so thank you so much to all of my special guests. Thank you to everyone who's watching live and everyone who's watching on the replay. All those conversations are done. Best of all of it. So you can go back and watch it on my channel. Also, next week, I will be talking about the most adorable psychopaths of Star Trek history. So it's going to be a really adorable, fun conversation. And I hope to see you there. Have a great rest of your day. Bye.